Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to another Monday Mini we've kind of been hinting at.
Yes.
But I think we are going to dive into it. So recently, we made mention of an article that had really been impacting a lot of people, apparently. All the peoples, both positive and negative. And you know what? I've enjoyed every bit of it. Every bit of it, including a lot of commentary from the actual author.
Mm-hmm.
The article is titled, "Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing?" So this is written by Chanté Joseph and was published in October of 2025 this year for Vogue US. And with its popularity, it actually spread internationally. And then some, other articles are now writing articles based on this article. It is making waves. And yeah, the reaction, y'all, wow. It has been both enlightening and disheartening to see in real time as it was released. But I will say the question alone resonated. Seriously, Anney, resonated. As a person who feels they can only identify as heterosexual and am in a current cis-hetero relationship in our field, that I say we understand that identity and structure is a spectrum. We have come to that conversation, we embrace it and find joy in that. It is all a spectrum. And we say that for mental health. We say that about gender identity, so many things. There's spectrums. And I think it makes the most sense that is how it should be evaluated. But with that, this type of articles, I can't help but feel exposed with understanding that. Of course, we've talked about the usage of the term partner, because that's been a big debate, right? Even today.
Yeah. That was actually past host and founder Kristen. She did a whole episode on years and years ago on about boyfriend, the word feels really childish. It doesn't feel very serious. So what are the other words we can use? And partner was part of that discussion. So yeah, we've been talking about this for a while.
And even today, people get upset for people who are in cis-hetero relationship to call their boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, whatnot, partners. Mm-hmm. Instead of boyfriend, girlfriend. And I have talked previously about the fact that it's because of age. Marriage is not something that I see in my future, and not anything that I've ever really wanted outside of being told I should want it. And so following that social norm, which again is part of this conversation. So feeling like calling my 7-year relationship boyfriend when we live together, own things together, share a dog, all these things, it just seems not significant enough, to compare it to a high school boyfriend or a middle school boyfriend / all those things. So it's more significant. And then I've also seen queer couples saying that they like it because it gives credence as well as value to partnerships as what they call each other. And even when they do get married, or if they do get married, they see that and being able to claim that as being a norm. So normalizing that word feels like progress. So it's a back and forth in that. With all of that said, I felt like me using that term partner may be implying that I'm trying to hide the fact that I have a boyfriend, but I've been, specific because he goes by he. And so there's no hiding it, other than I'm not airing his name out because it's not, in respect to him and everything else. So definitely different reasons, but it does feel like I'm kind of hiding it a little bit when I say this. And I think it's interesting because this article kind of hits on not him. This has nothing to do with my actual partner. It's the conversation of having or being in said relationship, right? So in this article, Joseph asks this question and talks about the cultural shift of once upon a time, having a boyfriend, having that partner, and being in a cis heterosexual relationship gave you power, gave you more value as a person, as a woman.
Yeah. And it was your goal. It was the thing that you wanted. And, go to college and get your MRS degree. Like, it was what your whole thing.
This is who you were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So she writes this in this conversation. Like, is it a cultural shift? Maybe why are people saying, we don't say that? It says, so what gives? Are people embarrassed by their boyfriends now? Or is something more complicated going on? To me, it feels like the result of women wanting to straddle two worlds. One where they can receive the social benefits of having a partner, but also not appear as boyfriend obsessed that they come across as quite culturally loserish. Quote, they want the prize and celebration of partnership, but understand the norminess of it, says Zoe Schmutzy, writer and activist. In other words, in an era of widespread heterofatalism, women don't want to be seen as being all about their man, but they also want the clout that comes with being partnered. Okay, so the way that sounds, it feels very accusatory in a certain sense of like, oh, they're trying to be both these things. Again, when I say the word partner, I feel like it's trying for me to purposely hide something in a field that's not necessarily a celebration. That doesn't make you special, which I'm glad because I lived the majority of my life not being in relationships. So like, I love seeing that. As in fact, as of recent, as happy as I am in my relationship, and Anney, you've witnessed our relationship pretty closely. Mm-hmm. And we are happily together. I feel like we're pretty equal in so many things, and we take care of each other. And like, we are aligned when it comes to political things and mental health things and cultural and social things. So there's no surprise for me. Like, for a little while, I thought there might be, but there wasn't. With all of that, though, like, it's still odd. And I will say to people who are not in relationships and seeking relationships, like, why? Why? Especially if they've come out of a bad relationship or bad dating experiences, be like, being single is not bad. It is actually pretty great. You should learn to embrace this.
Yeah. We just had a really great interview that you'll hear with Liberal Jane. But because we have so many things, I didn't get to bring up this point, but she was talking about divorce and kind of how people have that knee-jerk, oh, I'm so sorry. But there really has been a shift in that conversation as well. And I actually witnessed this years ago when I was at a bar and there was just a group of divorced women. And they were having the best time. And they were like, I'm glad I was able to make this decision. We found each other. But that's just not the narrative I grew up hearing. I grew up hearing, if you get divorced, you failed. If you can't find the dude in a very heteronormative sense, you have failed. But I do think something is happening right now where people are being more willing to say, you know what, I'd rather be single, or you know what, I'd rather be divorced, women specifically, where that hasn't been the case for a while, at least openly. I think it was, but openly, people are talking about it more.
They are. And in this place, she talks specifically about like the progressiveness, I guess, in that once upon a time, you could only make good content as if you had to show your perfect boyfriend relationship. And now, and capitalize on that. But now that's shifting. And so they're like, oh, blur out his face. Don't show him. Like, we got to show him
not into
okay.
that.
Yeah. So like this cultural dynamic being changing. Or again, the circular time of like regressing and all these things. But in her research, she talks about different women's reasons to why they may not share their partnership. So kind of hiding it, as they say. Whether it was a fear of the relationship ending, like this, like at one point when it ends, what happens? You have to also publicly, and I've seen so many of those where relationships end in divorce and their whole platform was about them having the perfect relationship, or their horrible breakup because one of them did, the other is going to get called out. It gets messy and like things get gross, or things happening in which like they're just sad. And so they can't grieve or mourn. And people, because you have shared so much, feel that they have the right to know why. Why is their entertainment going away? Why is their fantasy or ideal of this relationship going away? And it does happen with both heterosexual and homosexual relationships. So like we know this is across board.
Oh, yeah. And actually, I have a friend. We've been honest about it, listeners, but neither of us really listen to podcasts. But I have a friend that listens to a lot of podcasts, and they're the hosts who were best friends, just platonic best friends, broke up and the podcast went away. And I've been like getting these texts from her about how devastated she is because this was a relationship she was fond of, and that was their whole thing. And she says, like, now it's hard for me to even listen to the old podcast episodes because now I know how this ended, and it was really gross, apparently. But you get attached to the idea of it.
Yeah. So now that that's happening playing out like once upon a time, as it ages, it ends this way. There's other reasons that said that people are afraid that other people are jealous, and that might ruin it somehow. And I think like whether it's they're trying to break them apart or they're trying to find faults in their relationships. Again, there's also those who are paranoid, like you're just jealous of me type of thing too. So like those levels exist, and they feel like this could, ruin the show. Again, it also has something to do with like they just feel guilty in having a relationship. And it could be those people who maybe have for a long time banked on the fact that they are single, wild and out girls, or having like these like moments of like travel alone. And then they do find somebody, they're like, oh, we can't show it. I feel like we kind of witnessed it with past host Kristen, which you just mentioned, when she was, of course, there's so many things that happening, but when she got engaged and then she got like an op-ed and they came after her specifically being like, how dare you as a feminist get married?
Yeah. Yeah. And she was, excited about it. And it was, as she should be. She found somebody she really loved, but she was open about it and very excited about it. And people were like, well, you've lied to me then.
Yeah. You're not an independent, strong woman. At the very least, you should be marrying a woman. Like, it's just like, there was this like intensity. I remember that because I attended her wedding, and like, it was beautiful too, and everything was wonderful. But it was like as I was seeing, and I was barely on social media at that point, but I was like, oh, why are people having so many opinions about her wedding? I'm very confused about this.
It was strange. That whole thing. I remember that too.
Didn't she have to come out with an episode to explain?
I think so. Yeah, because at the time I was mostly involved in the Stuff I'll Never Told You YouTube videos. And she had a series, Professor Boyfriend, which is when her boyfriend would come on and they would talk about things. It was really cute. But I'm pretty sure they had like a whole thing that was just, he's here supporting me to do that. I'm sure he wasn't getting paid, which is wrong, by the way, that he should have been.
Right.
But he was there supporting her. There was no talk of like, I don't know, she's going to stop doing this because she's getting married. It was just a very bizarre why people thought that immediately this meant she's not a feminist, actually.
Right. Yeah, it was an odd level. But yeah, like, not necessarily Kristen did not do this, but I know a lot of people, again, out of guilt, feel like they can't say they have a boyfriend, or they're in a heterosexual relationship or a cis relationship in any way. So it is interesting. And again, Joseph goes on and explains this way. But there was an overwhelming sense from single and partnered women alike that regardless of the relationship, being with a man was an almost guilty thing to do. On the Delusional Diaries podcast, fronted by two New York-based influencers, Haley and Jazz, they discuss whether having a boyfriend is, quote, lame now. Why does having a boyfriend feel Republican? Read a top comment. Boyfriends are out of style. They won't come back in until they start acting right. Read another with thousands of likes. In essence, quote, having a boyfriend typically takes hits on women's aura, as one commenter claimed. So I feel like this is the backwards of like, this is the result of the patriarchy and misogyny. Like, this is the result of like what we have seen are such bad relationships.
Yep.
That seems to be the norm. So therefore that is really embarrassing.
Yeah. I have a friend who is in a wonderful relationship now, but historically have not liked her boyfriend. And there's nothing... I don't judge her, and I don't feel like she is an intelligent person, but there was something about, because all of her relationships were bad, I just had this association. So the person she's seeing is wonderful. I put off meeting him forever.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't even want to.
Yeah.
Everybody else I haven't liked. So I get that kind of idea of, and honestly, this is saying something about, as we were talking about in our last Monday Mini, the state of dating, the state of men and these heterosexual dating situations is so bad that now we have this association of like,
like it really, like we are
no thanks.
More prone to be skeptical, but at the same time, when they're okay, again, that the bar is so low, you find them above the curve somehow.
Yep.
And that's the level. So like there's just like battling mentality here. Like it is embarrassing. So if they're okay, like they hit the minimum standards, therefore they're great. But at the same time, it's still kind of embarrassing. Like there's this balance that seems to be off. And I have interestingly seen a lot of people, and I guess maybe it's just my algorithm, seen many people write or talk about the fact that the only types of women who are in good heterosexual relationships are the ones that women actually hate most men, if not all men, except for that one person, and still found this one person. And this one person understands why she hates all men and accepts the fact that he has to prove that he is not one of those, like, type of conversation, and being like, okay. And again, that is usually men who are being good humans. That's the bar.
No.
Just kind.
Yeah. It treating you like a person.
Equally.
Helping support you.
Yeah. Like equal and equity makes sense to them.
Right. Yeah. I've already hinted at it, but we have this episode coming up about moms are not okay right now. And I just have been struck by how much of our new entertainment is women just being like, you know what? I'd rather be alone than your gaslighting of doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And telling me that I'm making things difficult for you.
Right.
And so, I think finding that person is absolutely possible, but it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult. Again, Joseph talks about the fact that the cultural zeitgeist has shifted, meaning where we once were fed that to be happy and fulfilled is to be married with a perfect family and living the American dream. And now that has been drowned out by the reality that having the freedom of being single is the actual dream. Because, again, as studies have shown more recently, that single women are more likely to be satisfied and live longer than married women, because married women are sacrificing so much. Married men are fine because they've actually gotten a load off. Someone cooks dinner for them. Someone takes care of their washing. Someone comes in and takes care of the kids. As where for married women, the work doubles, if not triples, if not quadruples, because they now take on taking care of an entire family, usually under the American dream umbrella, without the help of the father or the husband or the man in the house.
Yeah. And it was kind of a big trick because it was like, this is the American dream. You get to stay home and do all of this stuff, and I don't have to thank you or pay you or do anything.
And now you can't stay home
and
because
now
we
you
can't afford to live.
Home because it's too expensive to have a kid. So in these traditional heterosexual relationships, women they're going to work and they're taking care of the kid and they're taking care of their husband
and
the house.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
That's not a dream.
The deal is gone. The deal is out the window. Because we don't want to just minimally live. You promised us the dream. So you're buying us clothes. You're buying us like trips. Where did that go? And
Where
now
did it go?
That dream does not exist. Me and you are having to both work to the max while I take care of these things, the woman, and we barely still can afford a good dinner and once a month date, maybe. Because we have to pay for a sitter. We have to, and I'm probably going to plan all these things because you're not going to do that.
Exactly. And
I'm tired of thinking about it.
I'm tired of thinking about it too. But like you can't. We talked about this in a past episode, but also leisure time. Men have a lot more leisure time than women do. Mm-hmm. And if you're talking about like the minimal free time women have, most of it, even so, and these are old studies I'm thinking of, are spent thinking about your kids.
Yep.
Like you're still, or our groceries, or like you're still worried about this. And by the way, this actually came up in a study on sexual health because women were saying they couldn't enjoy sex because all they were doing was thinking about everything they had to do. Mm-hmm. So that's, I mean, even in your free time, in quotes, it's not free. You're thinking about all this other stuff you have to do.
Yeah. Oh, so back to Joseph's article, she writes, from my conversations, one thing is certain. The script is shifting. Being partnered doesn't affirm your womanhood anymore. It is no longer considered an achievement. And if anything, it's become more of a flex to pronounce yourself single. As straight women, we're confronting something that every other sexuality has had to contend with, a politicization of our identity. Heterosexuality has long been purposefully indefinable, so it is harder for those within it and outside of it to critique. However, as our traditional roles begin to crumble, maybe we're being forced to reevaluate our blind allegiance to heterosexuality. That sentence. Yeah, I giggled at that sentence. It's powerful to me.
Yeah.
It is. This level of like that as being the standard. Is it?
Yeah.
It's not.
No, and I like I mentioned, this has been kind of interesting for me as an ace person, hearing this play out where I'm like, I went from I must be a sad cat lady to look at the life she's leading. Well, we did have a lot to say about this, as we knew we would. I was pretty certain. We are going to split this one into 2 Monday minis, if you will. So look out for part 2. But in the meantime, if you would like to contact us, if you have any thoughts about this, we've heard some interesting things from listeners about the conservative men lying on dating apps. So please write in. You can email us at hello@stuffnevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have some new merchandise at Cotton Bureau, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christine, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.